The first thing he registered was the cold, a deep, penetrating chill that seeped through his skin and settled in his bones. Then came the smell, sharp, metallic, like copper pennies mixed with the dank odor of wet earth. He tried to move his fingers, but they responded with a stiffness that felt alien, as if they belonged to someone else. A low, rhythmic scratching echoed from somewhere nearby. Not mechanical, but organic, like claws on stone. His last memory was of a birthday party, his 30th, with laughter and warm light. Now he stared at his reflection in the frosted glass. The face looking back was his, but older, with streaks of gray and hollow eyes. The date on the wall calendar, barely visible through the ice, wasn't 2014. It was a decade later, and he had no idea how he got here, or what had been living his life while he slept. A calendar's pages flutter violently from 2013 to 2023, not lost to fading memory, not stolen by trauma's shadow, but literally frozen in place, skipped entirely, a decade, suspended in the silent, static air. While the world moved on without you, this is the story of Eli Carter, the man who stepped into a storm in 2013 and walked out of the ice in 2023. And what they found when they thawed him out wasn't entirely human anymore. In the crisp autumn of 2013, Eli Carter's life seemed picture perfect. He had Anna, his devoted wife, and their 4-year-old daughter Lily, who saw her father as the center of her world. But beneath that brilliant Colorado sunshine, a shadow was already beginning to form, unseen and unfelt. It waited for the moment their story would turn. Dr. Eris Thorne was a geologist consumed by the ancient secrets locked within Colorado's stone and ice. His obsession led him deep into the most isolated trails, where he gathered specimens in utter solitude. He was vibrant. He was so full of life. He'd call from the trailhead, his voice crackling with static and excitement. "The air is so clear up here, Anna," he'd say, the scent of ozone and pine faint in his transmission. "I can see tomorrow." Those were his last words to me. On November 8, 2013, Eli left his truck at the Silver Creek trailhead under mild skies. But in the high alpine, weather is a treacherous, unpredictable force. A freak storm, a sudden violent blizzard, descended with shocking speed. The temperature plummeted as snow began to fall in thick, suffocating waves. Eli's red jacket was a solitary flare against the darkening woods as he ascended the trail. The wind's breath shifted from a sigh to a low, insistent moan, carrying the sharp, metallic scent of ozone. Every footfall on the damp earth seemed to echo into a waiting stillness. Above him, the clouds thickened into a bruised, oppressive ceiling, swallowing the last of the daylight. A sudden whiteout descended, the snow falling so thick it erased the world. Visibility vanished. Eli was trapped. For 2 weeks, search and rescue teams scoured that frozen void. They found nothing but the cold and the whispering of the storm. They discovered Eli's backpack half buried in fresh powder, the fabric stiff with frost. No footprints led away, no disturbance in the white expanse. Just that solitary pack. Officially, he was presumed dead, another name lost to the mountain's indifferent hunger. But the silence that followed carried a different weight, a stillness that felt deliberate, waiting. Anna and Lily mourned, holding a funeral with an empty casket. The scent of damp earth and wilting lilies hung in the air. Life, as it always does, moved on, painfully, slowly, but it moved forward. Yet the cold weight of absence remained, a hollow space where warmth once lived. Time passed. Lily grew up, Anna remarried, and Eli Carter faded into a cherished, painful memory. Just a photograph in a frame. But some memories refuse to stay buried. They linger in the air, like the faint, metallic scent of ozone before a storm. A quiet, persistent dread settled into the house's foundations, a cold, damp presence seeping up from the floorboards. Then, in August 2023, the whispers began, not from the living, but from the empty spaces between the walls. From above, the drone captures a dying glacier in the Colorado Rockies, its ice fractured, soiled, and retreating into the mountains. Climate change is redrawing our world, and in the summer of 2023, a shrinking glacier in the San Juan Mountains relinquished a secret it had concealed for 10 years. A heavy, metallic scent hangs in the thin air as the ice groans and shifts, revealing something dark and angular beneath the surface. Then, a sudden, sharp crack echoes through the valley, a sound like breaking bone, and the ice begins to pull apart. Jake and Maria froze, their breath catching as they pointed toward the newly exposed ice wall. A flash of crimson bled through the clear blue ice, a stark, unnatural red against the glacial purity. The air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and ancient cold, a metallic tang clinging to the back of their throats. Inside that jacket, a human silhouette, preserved and motionless, stared back from its icy tomb. They summoned the authorities. Then came the news broadcast. The headline changed, and the dread deepened. Shocking identification. A body, perfectly preserved by the deep freeze, and in a wallet, shielded by a leather jacket, was a driver's license. Eli Carter, missing for 10 years. The phone call finally came. A metallic scent like old copper filled the air as she listened. I collapsed. It wasn't relief. It was the crushing weight of a decade's silence finally breaking. It was sheer terror. The past became a physical entity, clawing its way into the present. But the real shock awaited at the county coroner's office. As the body slowly thawed under controlled conditions, the medical examiner, Dry Armitage, noticed something unnatural. The air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and decay, a metallic tang that clung to the back of his throat. Dr. Eris Thorne's breath hitched as he leaned over the cadaver. The sharp, clinical scent of antiseptic couldn't mask the underlying, sickly sweet odor of decay. Then, his experienced eyes registered the impossible. A profound, paralyzing dread seized him, freezing his hands above the cold, still flesh. His eyes snapped wide as he stared at the vital signs monitor. The flatline suddenly jumped into a slow, steady rhythm. Each beep echoed through the heavy silence of the room. There was a faint, sluggish, but undeniable heartbeat. Dr. Thorne's voice, captured in that interview, held a clinical horror that still lingers. Medically, it was an obscenity. He described cellular activity at near zero, a biological stillness that defied all reason. There was no brain function we could detect, not a whisper of electrical impulse in the silent gray matter. The air in the lab grew heavy with the scent of ozone and sterile dread, a testament to the impossible void they witnessed. But the heart, that ancient, stubborn muscle, had entered a state of suspended animation we've only observed in microscopic life. He wasn't dead. He was in a profound stasis. The sterile air smelled of ozone and cold metal. The only sound, the soft, rhythmic hiss of the ventilator. A primal dread took hold of the room. This wasn't medicine. It was something far older and far more terrifying. Eli Carter was alive. The world erupted in celebration, hailing it as a miracle. But in the sterile hospital halls, an unease took root. For the medical team, each day brought a creeping dread, and for Anna, the air grew heavy with a primal fear. 72 hours later, Eli's core temperature finally stabilized. Against all odds, his organs had sustained only minimal, almost negligible damage. On the fourth day, in a sterile quiet broken only by the hiss of oxygen, he opened his eyes. The air in the room grew thick and heavy, carrying the faint, metallic scent of ozone and old blood. Eli's eyes snapped open, revealing an unsettling glacial blue hue. They remained unnervingly still, not darting or searching the room. The air carried a faint metallic scent, like cold iron in a tomb. Every muscle in his body locked, paralyzed by this unnatural awakening. They just stare. Anna's voice breaks through the heavy silence. They weren't his eyes, not the warm hazel eyes I knew. They were empty, like gazing into a deep crevasse where nothing looks back. Eli could speak, but his voice emerged as a dry, rasping whisper, as if the wind still howled in his throat. Anna's hand trembled as she reached out, the air thick with the scent of old dust and something faintly metallic. Her fingertips brushed his skin, cold and slightly damp, like stone left in a forgotten cellar. She took his hand, the contact sending a jolt of static through her nerves, as a faint scratching sound whispered from the walls around them. The frigid air bit at their skin as Anna's voice trembled. Eli? It's me. It's Anna. You're safe. Eli stared blankly into the endless white, the scent of ozone and frost clinging to the air. After a long, heavy silence, his words came flat and hollow. The snow hasn't stopped. A damp chill seeped through the room, carrying the faint, metallic whisper of something ancient and wrong. The storm still raged outside, a relentless, frozen tempest that had trapped him in its icy grasp. His thoughts were a locked circuit, endlessly replaying those final, paralyzing hours. The name, Lily, drew no reaction. The question of the year meant nothing. All that remained was the storm's cold whisper and the metallic taste of dread. But the physical abnormalities were truly unsettling. Dr. Thorne described his skin as having a strange, waxy translucency. It felt unnaturally cold to the touch, a chill that persisted even hours after being removed from warming blankets. This wasn't the coolness of death, but something deeper, a cold that seemed to radiate from within, defying all medical explanation. His vitals were plummeting, blood pressure critically low, metabolism grinding to a near standstill. Then came the crystals. Microscopic ice formations had crystallized in his synovial fluid and deep within his pulmonary tissue. The thawing process hadn't eliminated them. They remained, frozen remnants of something that shouldn't exist. The pain was a constant, grinding frostbite, a frozen ache with every movement, every breath. I can hear it, the ice growing. Inside, the air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and cold stone. His psychological evaluations revealed a mind fracturing under the impossible weight of an internal glacier. Eli's face remained an impassive mask, devoid of joy at his survival or grief for the stolen decade. When presented with a photograph of his now 14-year-old daughter, his stare was vacant. The air in the room grew thick and stagnant, carrying the faint scent of old paper and dust. His fingers, resting on the cold metal table, felt nothing. No tremor, no warmth, only a distant numbness. Eli's words hung in the sterile air, a whispered confession that felt like a weight settling in the room. The little girl is gone. The mountain has her. The scene cut to Anna, her composure shattering in that same hallway, the scent of antiseptic doing nothing to mask the raw grief. "They brought my husband's body back," she choked out, the words sticky with despair. But the man inside, he's still up there on that mountain, forever trying to find his way home. In the final moments, we found Eli again, now in a quiet residential care facility, sitting motionless by a sunlit window. A man physically present, but whose spirit remained eternally lost, searching those distant, impossible heights. His hand remained pressed against the cold glass, a silent testament to what lay beyond. Eli Carter lives. He eats. He breathes. He can hold a basic conversation. The clinical reports list these functions as proof of normalcy, but they omit the ozone scent in his room, the way his gaze never quite meets yours, and the whispering that follows when he speaks. He exists trapped within a single, eternal instant. His prison is a room maintained at a chilling 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Any warmth is intolerable. It causes the phantom ice deep in his bones to feel as if it's melting in reverse, a sensation of agonizing wrongness. This is the price of his condition, a constant, frigid agony that has shaped his entire world. And now, the key to that moment. Lily. Years later, Lily, now a teenager, visits a father who is physically younger than her stepdad, a man who remembers her as a toddler and still calls her the little girl. She describes it as walking through a heartbreakingly realistic museum exhibit of her own past, a living relic of what was. The air in the room feels unnervingly still, carrying the faint scent of antiseptic and old paper. So what was saved? Eli Carter didn't cheat death. He made a bargain with it. The air in the morgue grew thick with the scent of ozone and old rot. His own heartbeat, a wet thump-thump in the silence, was the only sound. A body lay still, but a price now hung in the cold, damp air. He traded a decade of life, his family's warmth, his very humanity, for 10 years of absolute stillness within a glacial tomb. Now he exists as a living specter, a man preserved in time. His condition raises a horrifying, unanswerable question that haunts every researcher who studies him. If the cold that claimed him never truly released its grip, is he, even now, beginning to thaw? The question hung in the stagnant air, thick with the scent of old frost and decay. Was he truly gone? Or was this stillness just a temporary lull? A deep, unnatural cold seeped from the chamber's walls, making the very air feel brittle. The only sound was the faint, irregular drip of melting ice, each drop a countdown. He wasn't moving, but in that perfect, preserved silence, the dread was absolute.